New details about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's upcoming visit to Australia have been revealed. There are reports the pair will stop in Melbourne, Canberra and Sydney. They're expected to visit a children's hospital and to also make appearances linked to veterans.
Nobody in the entertainment world loves a comeback story more than the people who once watched someone fall. And in the strange soap opera theatre that the lives of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have become, Australia just handed the world one of the most quietly devastating storylines yet. Not through scandal, not through leaked documents, but through the coldest, most unforgiving verdict known to any public figure: empty seats and slashed ticket prices. When the Duke and Duchess of Sussex announced their tour dates across Australia, the expectation from their camp was clear: sold-out arenas, frenzied fans, and the kind of reception that would validate every controversial decision they had made since walking away from the British royal family. What they got instead was something far more sobering. A silence so loud it echoed across continents and landed directly in the headlines of every tabloid and broadsheet willing to say what many had long suspected. Ticket prices, once positioned at a premium that was supposed to reflect the couple's global star power, were cut by as much as 50% in a desperate, last-minute attempt to fill venues that stubbornly refused to sell out on their own. Let that number sit for a moment. 50%. Not a modest markdown, not a friendly promotional nudge, but a full-on, cannot be ignored collapse in perceived value that struck at the very heart of the brand Harry and Meghan have spent years building since trading royal robes for California sunsets and Netflix contracts. The Australian public, it seems, was not prepared to pay top dollar to hear what they could already read for free in any number of interviews, podcasts, and streaming specials the couple had already released into the world. There is something uniquely Australian about this particular rejection. Australians have a long and celebrated tradition of not being impressed by celebrity, royalty, or the complicated intersection of the two. It is a culture that respects the underdog, distrusts the overreaching, and has absolutely no patience for anyone who appears to be selling something while pretending not to be. Harry and Meghan, whether fairly or not, have come to embody exactly that tension. Two people who claim to have stepped back from public life while simultaneously never leaving it, who speak about privacy from the stages of sold-out venues, who discuss the suffocation of the spotlight while actively chasing it. Australians saw through the performance, and they communicated their verdict not with protests or think pieces, but with their wallets, which is the most honest form of feedback any performer can receive. The optics were devastating. Venues that the Sussex team had selected for their symbolic size, spaces that implied confidence and mass appeal, suddenly had to be managed carefully so that cameras wouldn't linger too long on the visible gaps in the crowd. PR teams went into quiet overdrive. The narrative was shifted, adjusted, softened. Words like intimate and curated were deployed with the practiced speed of people who have done this kind of damage control before. But the internet, as it always does, noticed anyway. Social media users in Australia and around the world began sharing screenshots of ticketing websites showing the dramatic price reductions, the timestamps confirming they happened not weeks but days before the events, and the commentary practically wrote itself. For Harry, this must sting in a way that is difficult to fully articulate. He left behind one of the most powerful institutions on earth, an organization with 1,000 years of history and a level of public fascination that no Netflix deal could ever fully replicate, and he did so at least in part on the belief that he and Meghan were valuable enough on their own terms to sustain the kind of life they wanted to live. Every sold-out venue was supposed to prove that. Every headline was supposed to confirm it. Australia, a country Harry has visited before under very different circumstances, wearing a uniform rather than a conference badge, gave him a different answer. For Meghan, the wounds may cut differently but no less deep. She has staked a significant portion of her public identity on the idea that she was underestimated, undervalued, and misunderstood within the royal family, and that the world beyond its walls would see her clearly and embrace her fully. Her podcast found an audience. Her Netflix projects attracted attention. But there is a difference between passive consumption, clicking play from a couch in the comfort of anonymity, and actively choosing to purchase a ticket, get in a car, find a seat, and spend an evening in the physical presence of someone you admire. That second kind of commitment requires a level of genuine enthusiasm that Australia, in measurable, financially documented terms, could not muster at the price originally being asked. What makes this story so hard to look away from is not the schadenfreude, though there is certainly plenty of that circulating online, but the larger question it raises about the sustainability of the path Harry and Meghan have chosen. Celebrity is not a static condition. It requires constant renewal, a continuous conversation between public figure and public in which the audience decides, repeatedly and often brutally, whether they are still interested. The couple's content, their interviews, their revelations, their reframings of the past, may have saturated a market that was once hungry, but is now full. When everything is a headline, nothing is surprising. When every wound is a chapter, the chapters start to blur. Australia did not humiliate Harry and Meghan with malice. It humiliated them with indifference, which is so much worse. Malice at least implies passion. Indifference is the end of the conversation entirely. The unsold seats, the slashed prices, the quiet pivot in messaging. These are not the signs of a brand in crisis necessarily, but they are undeniably the signs of a brand that has reached a ceiling and is only now beginning to realize how low that ceiling sits. The question now is what comes next. A reinvention, a retreat, a doubling down, or something none of us have anticipated yet. Whatever it is, you can be absolutely certain the world will be watching, even if it won't always be buying a ticket to see it.